This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino. A meal isn't just about what's on your plate. It's about what you bring to the table. San Pellegrino believes the table is where the best of life happens. That's what makes gathering around it so rich and rewarding. And with their unique sparkling natural mineral water, San Pellegrino brings its best so you can bring yours.
Today on CityCast Boise. When a teacher's sign was deemed too political by the West Ada School District, one student decided he couldn't stay silent, even if it meant risking his diploma. We're exploring what pushed him to go off script at graduation, challenging the administration, and what he hopes other students take from his bold stance. It's Monday, June 9th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Joining me is Renaissance High School graduate Jeremiah Bruneau. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Jeremiah.
Of course, yeah.
You were a student in the West Ada School District when the "Everyone is Welcome Here" sign controversy erupted. What was that like from your perspective?
Definitely shocking, because I haven't met any educators or staff or anyone in the district so far who has made anyone feel excluded, at least at Renaissance. It's the only West Ada school I've gone to. And just hearing that the district was doing that was kind of shocking.
What was the atmosphere like at Renaissance High School in the days and weeks after the news broke about the district asking the teacher, Sarah Ainama, to take that sign down?
Yeah, it was definitely a hot topic of discussion. As a senior, you're a lot closer to your teachers and friends with them than when you're a freshman. And so, of course, we were talking about it, my friends and I, with the teachers, and we were all really confused. It felt like seeing the two posters that had to be taken down and the district's response, it kept being no, there has to be something else. There has to be something that the teacher isn't telling us. There has to be something more to this. There's no way that they actually are upset with these two posters. And then the teachers were kind of well, I don't know. This is par for the course, kind of.
That's really similarly, as a parent in the district, I felt very similarly, where it was there's got to be more. But as more information came out, it was no,
it kept getting worse.
Yeah. Every little bit of news that broke just made it worse. I'm really curious. The Renaissance students had a student-led walkout. Were you able to participate in that?
Yeah, it was great. It was a fantastic show of support, I guess. And
as a student, did that feel like a chance to maybe have more of a say in what was happening since the district was being silent? Did that give you a chance to express how it was making you feel as a student?
Yeah, it absolutely did. Especially after I think it was after the memo went out, the infamous sports analogy memo from the chief academic officer about,
Yep.
I can't even remember what it was about, just corporate jargon and non-answers, And since I kept seeing on KTVB and other news sources that they kept asking West Ada for a comment and West Ada wouldn't comment. All they would say was look at our memo, kind of, and they weren't responding the district wasn't responding to parents or students either. And so even though we didn't get a response from the walkout protest, it was great to be right there at the district. I don't know if this was, I didn't see it, but someone said that we were facing Dr. Bubb's office, the superintendent, and some other people's, and then they left their offices because they were bothered with us. So it was that felt good to be a nuisance.
I was going to say, and you're perfectly situated at Renaissance, where the district offices are right there. So that was the perfect school to walk out and be able to face those offices and make a statement.
It was fun to be on their side of the building.
So Jeremiah, when did you decide that you were going to go off script for your graduation speech?
Yeah, so ever since people started talking about who's going to be the grad speaker in maybe March or so, I was I thought I'd want to do it just either way. And then especially after the poster issue, I knew, I'm not saying none of my classmates would, but I knew I would have the courage, the balls to say something about it. So yeah, even before I got picked as grad speaker, I definitely knew I was going to do that.
Oh, so with your graduation speeches at Renaissance, you can submit to be one of the speakers. They don't just choose students randomly or by GPA or anything?
Yeah, so at a traditional school, there's the valedictorian and the salutatorian, the top two class ranked. Renaissance does not have the traditional weighted classes system. Like there's a lot of like hard classes, but they're not weighted on the GPA scale. So we don't have a valedictorian. There's just like a big tie at the top, And so they take the top, I want to say like 20, 25 kids from like the GPA class rank. So lots of good grades. And then the seniors have like a week to vote for two. And so me and another friend got voted to speak.
Okay. And so before that even happened, you had already thought about addressing the everyone is welcome here sign controversy.
Yeah, I knew I would be on the ballot for sure. Like I knew my grades were high enough, and this issue was so simple. Yeah, it's so basic but important that I knew I would have to talk about it.
And were you nervous at all about how your speech was going to be received, especially after you'd been warned that going off script could mean you would lose your diploma?
I wasn't worried about like community feedback. I know that a lot of the community is on the side of the poster and Mrs. Inama and, the students and teachers. But I definitely was worried about the district. I mean, I've never like had any disciplinary violations my entire time at Renaissance. So it's just a very not traditional first, disciplinary violation. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't just like a talking in class or messing around or whatever. It was like calling out my district at graduation with them right there, with 1,000 people in the audience, with it being live streamed, with it being a very hot topic. I was nervous, but I knew the risk I was taking, and I was completely okay with that.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Did anyone else, like your parents or your friends, know that you were planning on addressing the controversy during your graduation speech?
Yeah, I definitely told my friends and parents. And, with friends, kind of honed in like what I was going to say and how I was going to word it. And then obviously I wasn't going to have a printed out paper right there with the off script remarks. And so lots of, practicing what I was going to say. I knew I'd get cut off at some point. So I just wanted to get lots of the important stuff out in the first sentence or two and then see how far I could go.
In those just couple of moments you had before they cut your mic and kind of stopped your speech, you called out the district administration for making acceptance political. Why did that make it to kind of the top of the couple of things you knew you were going to be able to say before you were going to be cut off?
When the poster first got taken down, I think that's part of the not under oh, there must be more, was the district hadn't officially said yet oh, this is what's wrong with the poster, this is what's an issue, this is why it's being taken down. Once they did say this is politically controversial, it's just her opinion, and then they specifically said that the hands were the problem on the sign, not the words. And then they reinforced that it was a political controversy. One of the board members said, everything's political nowadays. Even with the brand of car you drive is political. So you can't blame us. That was kind of the vibes of whatever she had said. And I sat there thinking this is the United States. This isn't like some authoritarian fascist country. Inclusion isn't a political issue in America, or at least it shouldn't be.
Do you feel like that was a dodge by the administration to kind of say, everything's political nowadays? We didn't really mean anything by saying the multiracial hands were political. It's just, do you feel like that was a dodge from accountability? Yeah,
all part of the just lack of transparency and accountability. Yeah. I think the biggest thing with this well, like obviously the poster's the issue, but also another huge thing is just the lack of like open communication from the district to the community. I mean, I feel like they still haven't actually sat down and done an interview with any news organizations in the area. And then also not really, like I follow the West Ada Instagram account. I get their newsletters every week. There is never a mention of this. They're trying to keep it under wraps because I think they're embarrassed about it. And I think they know they made a mistake, but they kind of just keep digging their heels further in because they don't know how to like go about apologizing and like rectifying the situation.
You also focused on uplifting teachers, saying that they worked with you to make you and other students feel welcomed. Why did you feel like it was so important to focus on that distinction between teachers and the administration?
I know teachers are doing their absolute best with the resources available to them. And especially like at my school specifically, teachers doing a good job. And then also in March, I think at the end of March, our principal just kind of up and left. I know teachers have like a year-long contract, but she just left to do whatever was best for her family. And so like specifically obviously I love all my teachers, but the two administrators I called out are the vice principal, and Dr. Farrell is the IB coordinator. It's the IB International Baccalaureate. It's like a program at my school, like AP classes. But those two really like stepped up and helped keep the Renaissance ship, sailing smooth. Nautical reference for the Voyagers. They kept smooth sailing and made sure that nothing like fell apart at this end of the year. Lots of IB exams, we had an awards ceremony. All this stuff was going on, and they definitely worked extra hard to keep the same community at Renaissance. And yeah, again, I wanted to focus on positives too in the speech.
And how did the crowd respond in the moment? What reactions do you remember?
I was definitely too nervous to like realize how much applause there was, but looking back at the recording, you could hear like a lot of like immediate applause and like screaming from the crowd. In the moment though, I was just like the rush of just having done that was kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, all that adrenaline.
Right. Yeah. And but as soon as the graduation ceremony was over, it was at the Idaho Central Arena downtown. So it was like there was a big kind of quad. Lots of people came up, teachers, parents, students, classmates. Lots of people came up and they're like, "Wow, like that took some courage. Like I'm glad you said that. We're all thinking it." And it was terrifying, but there wasn't that much risk for me just because, I mean, they threatened to hold my diploma, but I knew they'd have to give me eventually. There was nothing to keep holding it for, And again, they don't own me anymore. So I kind of had to say something.
Did the administration talk to you afterwards or approach you at all?
No. So during a graduation ceremony, everyone knows this. You don't actually get your diploma. You just get a basic diploma cover. And then you go in at some point, like later, to get the real piece of paper. I went in Wednesday morning with some friends. And of course, they have the cart with everyone's diploma there. And then one of the office ladies said, "Oh, hang on, wait on a second." And then she went and got Dr. Farrell, and Dr. Farrell comes out and she's like, "Jeremiah, we need to have a talk." And I'm like, "Oh, I wonder what it's about." Before you get your diploma. Yeah, well, what could it be about? And we had a sit down talk, yeah. Got lectured, but I received my diploma. She did say that she actually had to argue with the district to get my diploma. Not, to get it then and not have to meet with them. And I was I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for her fighting for me, but I was completely willing and ready to have to sit down with people from the district and not apologize, but just discuss what happened,
Yeah. So it sounds like they did want to make good on their threat to at least hold it and make you speak with them.
Really? I had no idea if the threat was going to be empty or not. I'm glad I didn't have to deal with a bunch of nonsense, but definitely thought I might have to.
So do you think that speaking out has changed anything in the district, or has it changed anything for you personally?
That was definitely the scariest but most fulfilling thing I've ever done. And it wasn't even necessarily like the exact words I said, but just the fact that, attention around this has kind of died down a little bit since March and April. And I just wanted to do what I could do, the very least I could do to raise attention to this again. Like, what else was I going to do with that platform? There was this very clear issue, kind of very one-sided issue that was starting to not get attention, not looking like, I don't think 3-4 weeks ago, anyone was thinking like, oh yeah, the district's right on the brink of, caving in and apologizing for this. So I just wanted to do my part to keep awareness up about it.
Well, and I personally want to commend you because that takes a lot of courage. That is a really very public, very visual way. There are hundreds or thousands of people there or who are watching, and to take that stand and say that with a threat of your diploma hanging over your head, with not knowing exactly what the outcome is going to be, that takes a lot of courage. That as an adult would take tons of courage. And as a new grad, that's very exceptional.
Yeah. Again, like I said, absolutely the most terrifying thing I've ever done, biggest risk I've ever taken. But at the end of the day, like it was terrifying, but so fulfilling at the same time that it's what made it worth it. But I knew I had the opportunity. So it was like for everyone else, like as scary as it'd be for me, like I have to do this for everyone else who doesn't have a voice right now, because of either their employment within the district or just they're not the grad speaker or whatever.
So after having done this, what advice would you give to other students in the district who maybe want to speak up or say something but are worried about potential consequences?
This is about as basic of an issue as it gets. This isn't like this is not a political issue. I mean, some people can say that they're political beliefs. It's like, oh, this is obviously their answer. And like there can be some debate about it. But this isn't political unless we were in like some undemocratic country. This isn't a political issue. There's the only alternative to not thinking everyone is welcome here and not liking the hands is one, in there to be no diversity and there to be no inclusion and there to be no equality in the classroom.
Well, and Jeremiah, it seems like young people always, every generation of young people get scrutinized by older generations and potentially called out, or, oh, the youth these days. How would you defend yourself, your actions, and the actions of your peers to someone who is trying to diminish or dismiss what you did as, oh, kids these days, these rascally kids?
I think I'll connect it back to the actual West State mission statement. Their mission statement is to prepare today's students for tomorrow's challenges. One of the biggest challenges of tomorrow is making sure that everyone feels welcome and everyone feels safe in a community, in a country, in like a democratic country, right? That everyone feels safe and feels like they have mutual respect with one another. And not only just in the community, but especially in the public school system. I guess a private school can do whatever they want, but the whole point of the public school system is that it's there for everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, what's next for you? What are your plans heading into the fall?
Well, I'm going to Brown University in Rhode Island in the fall. I'm going to study health and human biology to become a doctor eventually. Maybe an ER doctor. That sounds fun. Clearly, I love the thrill of just like adrenaline and high heart rate. So I think the ER would be fun. I'm going to keep in touch with people here. And I really hope that, honestly, I hope before I go that some kind of change happens in the district. I will absolutely keep speaking up for my classmates and teachers.
Well, congratulations again on your graduation, Jeremiah. Thank you for sharing your insights with us. And I wish you all the best at Brown University this fall.
Thank you so much. This has been great.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to tell your friends about the show. We'll be back tomorrow morning with tips on making the most of the Boise Farmers Market. Catch you then.